Hey, good morning, everyone, and welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm Chris here with Elliott with Cafe. It is Saturday morning in Chicago. It's about 8:30. I wanted to put this video out as soon as I could. I have a busy day, and let's go ahead and take a look at the markets. We have basically positive closes pretty much across the spectrum. There were not huge gains this week, but nonetheless, they were positive. And since on Monday we're going to get the last day of the month and the last day of the quarter, I wanted to also go to some quarterly charts and just see how the candlesticks here and the price patterns look on this much larger time frame. So as always, I'm going to go through the wave counts as well, but as always, I always start with this larger time frame, right? The quarterly wave count in the S&P with the 1, 2, and this one keeps me on the bullish side of the market and trying to, participate into this uptrend that's been going on for decades. Now, if we're going to go back to the quarterly charts, you can see that pending some horrible closes, let's say on Monday, this quarter should be another decent one that can probably close near the highs of this candle and continues to show you, just strength in this market, right? There is if you go back and look in 2008, 2009, and you obviously, had that big financial crisis, and then once you broke above that high, you started to begin, a much larger bull market in here for several years. I think we're on a similar structure. We overtook that high in 2013, so about let's say 40 years later that it took to kind of recover all those losses. This one in here probably took maybe about a year, right? And we're kind of starting to get out of it. So I think there's a lot of potential here from this market to continue to go. So if you want to keep things very simple and, unless you're, very focused intraday or even, swing trading from 1 month to the other on a longer term investment perspective, I think there's not a whole lot to worry at the moment in here. And you can see how this looks pretty, I think it will continue higher. The Nasdaq is giving us a similar picture. It's been a bit underperforming, obviously, for the past several weeks, but again, just a pretty decent and nice uptrend. Dow Jones Industrial, even stronger in here with a nice close with about 8% up on the quarter, and trading about 42,313. I mean, if we're closing in here, I think this, we're going to get another solid quarter as we're entering this election, and then we begin a bullish period with seasonality, and this can shoot us towards 43, 44K in the months ahead. Then you have IWM, which it started slow. It barely started. Last quarter was not as good. You had 2 quarters previously as you kind of wrapped up 2023 and began 2024, but then, a period of slowdown. But now if we're closing at these highs, as we're closing up this quarter, I think, we're going to probably break and start to move higher. So I have exposure to small caps. I'll show you the chart soon, but from the way this looks, I think we're making new all-time highs in IWM. And then Bitcoin, my thoughts on it. I'll show you the counts. I think we're getting ready to break and move towards 100 to 120,000 in the next several months. So I do expect a big move coming out of Bitcoin. U.S. Treasury yields are retreating, obviously, with the Fed cutting. The dollar, it's beginning a new downtrend. It's trading at about 100. Big, massive fake out above, let's say 106 was the level up there. You can see that bearish engulfing candle, and I think we're probably returning back to about 90 in the months ahead on the US dollar. And then, you have gold that's in a beautiful uptrend once it cracked above 2K. I mean, look at this quarterly chart, just a beautiful breakout, and it could probably continue at the rate that you've had, let's say, between 2005 and 2009, maybe even larger, right? Because this has been a long consolidation in the WTIC. It's pretty much nowhere. It's trading about 60. I don't have a lot of input on oil. If anything, if the dollar breaks, maybe the oil comes lower. Okay. Also, if you look at the markets outside United States, international markets, I mean, look at this beautiful candle. I mean, what do you want at the highs, right? It doesn't look like a hammer, like something like this, right? That's a bearish setup right there. When you have this, what they call this, a hanging man. So when you have something like this, you do expect weakness, especially if it comes after a strong period. But this one, it doesn't look anything like that. If anything, it looks like a nice bullish continuation in those international stocks. And then obviously, quarterly volatility, which took us up to about 65 very briefly. I think it was in August, was it? Yeah, August 5th or something. And then, we quickly destroyed that. So again, my mind is focused on this count, and I do treat the markets, with from a bullish perspective, and doesn't mean that I'm a perma bull. It's just that I like to trade with the trend, and this is what this is telling me. All right, we've been to the quarterly. Let's take a look at the weeklies. Pretty good volume. I mean, we're up about 62 basis points. We're, above all the key moving averages here, kind of uptrending. One of my main indicators that I like to watch is the RSI here on the weeklies, and I watch the 50 line. And this is the one that offers opportunities every time you approach it, and as long as you stay above that, I personally want to be bullish the market. And PPO, it's another one that needs to stay above that zero line. So based on these indicators, along with the volume, I like what I see on the charts for a continuation. Again, doesn't mean that it's happening on a straight shot. We're entering October. We might have some false starts in here and a little bit of pullbacks, but I think as we're entering into the election, things are going to start to look much better and much stronger. Semiconductors with a strong close, 4.3% on the week, getting back above the 50 in here, which is good to see. So maybe this is a signal to start to think bullish again in the semiconductors, with the PPO that's starting to turn. If you start to get back below last week's low, I would be out of that trade in semiconductors. Magnificent 7 looking good in here. Dow Jones Industrial. I mean, look at this RSI, guys. I mean, it crossed right here above 50, right, with the beautiful, or even if you go even the next week, right, it doesn't matter which one, because then you wait for these moving averages to get taken out, and then it would never drop below 50. Never drop below 50, right? You did have approaches, right, but the buyers come in every time that happens, and that's with the previous horizontal support with moving averages. I mean, this is a nice uptrend in here, and I think it will continue to go higher. Look at the volume also, so that looks pretty decent. IWM, like I said, I mean, look at the RSI here, right? So you've been below it in a couple of these corrections, and then once you started to crack and move above, you stayed above, and it offered opportunities to, if you have the larger view that, along with the rate cuts and all of that IWM and small caps will start to perform well, then you're looking for opportunities to get into this trade. How do you get into this trade, right? By looking at the RSI, looking at the moving average, looking at the percentage pullbacks, looking at the wave counts, and that offers you ways to kind of get in and get confirmation and so on. So I continue to like this trade. Bitcoin, it corrected here on the weekly, and it fought with this 50 RSI. PPO resets, 3 bullish weeks now, and I don't know, something is telling me that we're ready to go, and it's not going to be another false start. Remains to be seen, but I'm waiting for the crack of the 67.5, 68, close to 70, and once that goes, then I think the floodgates open and we'll continue to push higher very strongly. I mean, we have an increase in volume in here, so I like that. I like, again, the RSI moving. So I'm positive on Bitcoin. I'm positive, and we are bullish in here. I mean, I talk about this on my daily videos every single day, and into the chat I also put what I do and what stocks I buy, when I sell them, what my percentage exposure. So right now we're basically on IBIT with it. And, that's kind of my personal choice, but you can use BITX, or just gotta be careful obviously with leverage and all, or straight up Bitcoin, whatever people choose to have their trading vehicle. But I opened positions in IBIT, and I'm looking to add to them when further confirmation. And then Ethereum, it's a bit underperforming. Look at the RSI, still struggles, volume coming in, but I need to see a bit more from this from Ethereum to let's say have an interest in opening positions in here. Not yet for me. 10-year yields, right, coming lower, and then the dollar starting to break that 200-week moving average, broke a massive trend line, and it's in a downtrend. I think any swings higher, they'll get sold into. I want RSI to stay now below 50, right? So every time it raises above, there will be a chance to sell the dollar. So that's where I'm at with this. On the daily, I'm not going to go. I do that in our presentations there. So let's go over and take a quick look at the wave counts, because probably that's why you're here, and see here. So the S&P on the weekly time frames, you have our multiple 1-2s, and this is the latest one. So I'm looking for this move to continue towards 6,000, 6,300 in the upcoming months. Now here on the smaller time frames, and this, by the smaller I mean the daily, you can see how you've had a couple of corrections. I think that's a small 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 maybe. So again, I would not be surprised to see if we're going to pull back a little bit in here, maybe back towards 5,600 if the market wants to do that. Maybe as we're beginning October, do a little bit of a shake of this bullish sentiment, and then begin again. So I would look for maybe 50%, even a 61.8 retracement, maybe somewhere back to somewhere to this level, something like that. I'm not saying it's going to happen, right? So my positioning is bullish, but if it does, I kind of know what to expect. Now if you're selling below these lows, then we have a larger problem on our hands, right? And we know there's definitely something wrong with this count, and we have to revisit and reduce exposure, get defensive, all those things that we got to do. Just got to wait for the market to tell us. For right now, I'm pretty content with the way this looks. Then let me show you. The Nasdaq, I did not change it much. It's a bit it's a bit harder because it didn't make a new high, so it's still like almost like a three-wave move in here. But from the weekly time frame perspective, this looks very healthy, right? So I would love to see Nasdaq Composite continue to grow in here and make this wave a little bit bigger. Still some vulnerabilities here, but let's say if you do, I'm just going to play a little game, right? If you start to come back this way and you start to draw below 17, I think we got problems, right? I think then we got to think either some kind of a triangle or maybe even a flat formation in some kind of a 3-3, and then you're going to get a 5 wave and then you go. But if you're getting such a large sell-off, right? Something has to happen in the month of October, because then by November on you have the elections, and then you have the pretty big bullish seasonality towards the end of the year. So if they gotta go at it, they gotta go now, in my view. So I don't know if that's going to happen, but we'll see. It's just always be prepared and watch your own account, and how much exposure you have with the stocks, or and just make sure you have those stops in place. And this on the weekly time frames, it still looks pretty healthy. Let's say I'm not too happy with the second wave the way this looks, but if I go to a 2-week chart, there's nothing wrong here. You saw the technical page. This is something that can actually continue to grow and have a potential to break, since you already finished the correction. If you finish the correction now, that means that you're beginning the next wave upwards, right? That larger third wave. How does that start? Well, it starts a bit hard in the beginning. You have a wave 1, then you pull back in a second. You got some chop there, but overall the direction that I see is this one, and it's just a matter of kind of working through this it's the same like in the Nasdaq, right? You kind of have this small three-wave move for now, so it's gotta get a bit more juice behind it. Dow Jones on the other side looks healthier, right? I mean, because you made a three-wave move, but you're up to new highs. So I don't think you can have a flat here. I mean, if you do, again, just like in the Nasdaq, right? You have a 3 and then 3, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I mean, that would be pretty damaging, and then you go, right? But I just don't see this playing out with the way the rest of the market looks, the stocks, the industries, the sectors with the breakouts. Would have maybe a bit extended, but nowhere near in such a froth level that you would be getting such a quick washout, right? The Fed is here. I mean, you got to get maybe some horrible job numbers or something really damaging to start such a big sell-off, right? Some kind of a credit crisis, but that doesn't start overnight. So I don't know. I just based on that, I choose to remain bullish on this. So and then you have your IBIT, which starts to move, and I wanted to see if it breaks this trend line, and then we'll add some more and see if we can get it towards towards 50. And then you have your gold in here, which on the weekly time frames. Actually, this is a month. It's bullish. It's bullish. You're in the middle of a third wave, and I would look for opportunities to join. I mean, you can do trend lines, you can do moving averages, percentage pullbacks. There's all kind of ways and tricks to kind of try to get in a trade if you don't want to buy when it's overextended. Right? You want to wait a little bit, but again, I talk about those daily. So what else? Let's see a little bit of Bitcoin. So I put this one on Twitter, got a lot of traction, a lot of views, blah blah, comments there, but yeah, I mean, definitely this could be. It doesn't have to be such an extended fifth wave. I mean, you could have a fifth wave right here and then sell off, and have a little bit of an ABC and then go again. But I find it hard that we would drop, let's say, below this massive support we had near 50K with the way everything looks. So for me, I'm focused higher. I think once you break this huge consolidation, you're not just going to go and then come back in a big sell-off. I think you're going to continue to accelerate. And maybe I'm wrong, and this whole thing is a second wave right here. It's not a fourth, right? That's the tricky part on Elliott wave too, right? Is it a fourth or is it a second, right? A lot of people, I lost a lot of money thinking, there is, it's a fifth wave coming, and it wasn't. It was the beginning of a third wave, right? So don't just assume, it's a fifth wave. Never assume it's a fifth wave, because that's a sure way to have trouble, and then you got to wait for all kind of confirmation, and by the time you see it, you're already lower, but you got to start reducing exposure if you see that it's not acting like it's supposed to act as a third wave, right? Because then hey, now I might be in trouble. It's not a third, maybe it's a fifth. It's starting to kind of come back down. So there's tricks to do that and ways to find that out. But assuming that it's a fifth wave and then just selling into that, can be very painful, because I've seen many traders, continuing to sell. It's a fifth wave, and then you sell and then you add, and then, all of a sudden, this market is, from thinking that it's going to stop at whatever 100% of this, going up here, let's say towards 95, it does a little bit of a pullback, and then it does that, and then all of a sudden you're much higher to 150,000. So anyway, that's just kind of my thoughts on assuming a certain wave structure and always being open of that not being the case. All right, guys, I'll leave it at that. Thanks for watching. Again, just come over, say hi. Again, we're up here every single day in the chat and with my videos and updates. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.